America just killed him. Hector Guerrero, known as Niño, leader of Tren de Aragua, eliminated in a US military strike. The gang spans 8 countries. The vacancy just opened.
Imagine a shadow, a phantom moving seamlessly across international borders. A name whispered only in the highest level, most classified intelligence briefings. We're talking about a target hunted not just by a single police force, but by a sprawling coalition of nations, all absolutely desperate to sever the head of a massive criminal empire. Just think about that for a second. Imagine becoming so unbelievably dangerous that your very existence triggers an international crisis. Your aliases are lighting up intelligence reports across the globe. Entire governments are discussing you behind closed doors, frantically weighing the risks of your expanding network. And then, one day, a coordinated military strike is launched with one single definitive objective: to end your reign. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the story of Niño Guerrero, the mastermind who systematically became one of the absolute most wanted, elusive, and notorious figures in all of South American history. This right here is the anatomy of a global manhunt, a pursuit that spanned years, crossed borders, and ultimately culminated in a totally shocking twist. Now, to really grasp the sheer scale of this manhunt, we have to look at where this target came from. Before he was triggering international crises, Niño Guerrero was just an inmate doing time within the borders of Venezuela. But you see, he used that confinement to build a powerful network. He became deeply intrinsically linked to what would become one of the most feared organizations in the entire region, Tren de Aragua. What started out as a localized prison gang methodically mutated. It broke right past those prison walls to become a formidable transnational threat. And as this syndicate bled across borders, the reputation for absolute ruthlessness preceded them. Authorities began mapping out a terrifying portfolio of crimes. We're talking systemic extortion, human and drug trafficking, brutal kidnappings, and heavily calculated organized violence. It was no longer just a street gang, it was a multinational enterprise built on suffering. And Niño Guerrero, he was its most recognizable face. You have to understand, for years, multiple law enforcement agencies were throwing everything they had at dismantling this complex network. The pursuit was relentless. It was methodical. Investigators were tracking these intricate, tangled money flows crossing international borders. Intelligence agencies were rigorously hunting down encrypted communications just to map out the gang's hierarchy, which eventually led to coordinated police raids. But here's the thing. Despite all of these massive efforts, those traditional methods, they just weren't enough to break the syndicate. Then we hit a major turning point. The year is 2023. Venezuelan authorities decided it was time to strike right at the root. They launched a massive operation at the very prison widely known to be the gang's stronghold, the absolute epicenter of their entire operation. This was supposed to be the decisive blow. But amid the chaos and the smoke of the raid, authorities realized something deeply unsettling. Niño Guerrero wasn't there. He had completely disappeared. He escaped. Literally overnight, one of South America's most wanted men was entirely in the wind. He basically became a phantom, a fugitive ghost. And for investigators, this vanished target created a truly daunting new reality. Think about it. They weren't just hunting a gang leader anymore. They were hunting someone who inherently understood exactly how law enforcement worked. Finding him meant finding a man who knew precisely how to stay hidden, shielded by an army of fiercely loyal followers. So the search continued. It was relentless and it was exhausting. Month after month, year after year, the manhunt stretched across entire countries, leaning heavily on vast, cross-border intelligence networks. Because his whereabouts were completely unknown, that vacuum of actual facts quickly filled up with rampant rumors. Even intelligence analysts were totally divided on this. Some were absolutely convinced he had fled deep into remote, isolated regions operating entirely off the grid. Meanwhile, competing theories suggested the exact opposite, that he was hiding right in plain sight, shielded by deeply embedded criminal networks and bustling cities. It was just dead end after dead end. The trail went ice cold, but the investigators, they never stopped looking. So after all those years of cold trails, a sudden explosive development completely shocked the international media. In June 2026, US President Donald Trump made an unprecedented public announcement. He detailed a joint military operation specifically targeting Guerrero. We're talking about a deeply coordinated, highly lethal strike involving US forces working directly alongside Venezuelan authorities. And the result of that strike? It was definitive. Following that announcement, Venezuelan authorities corroborated the success of the joint operation. They officially stated that Guerrero had been killed. The specter that had haunted international law enforcement for years was finally gone. The man at the absolute center of this massive, multi-year manhunt had been eliminated. The aftermath of the strike was immediate, and it was global. Videos released right after the operation spread like wildfire online, going completely viral as the world absorbed the news. Major networks across the globe were covering the story of the Phantom's demise. But the one question everyone was asking was how? How did investigators finally find him after all those years on the run? Well, while a lot of the operational details understandably remain highly classified, official statements pointed to one absolutely crucial factor: unprecedented intelligence cooperation. At the end of the day, it was the sharing of data across borders that ultimately brought the target down. You see, the rise and fall of Niño Guerrero is incredibly complex. It's a dark narrative about the intoxicating pull of power and the terrifying sweeping reach of organized crime. But as we look at this, we're left to confront a pretty harsh reality. History shows us that these networks, they survive. Criminal syndicates, much like the sprawling empire Guerrero built, are specifically designed to be resilient. They're like hydras, often completely outliving the powerful leaders who constructed them in the first place. Which leaves us with a final lingering thought for this explainer. Can removing one powerful gang leader truly destroy a criminal organization? Or will another leader, maybe someone even more ruthless, simply rise from the shadows to take his place? It's a massive question that global law enforcement continues to grapple with every single day. We want to know where you stand on this. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know, can the Hydra ever truly be defeated?